Hello and welcome to the final episode of the 1991 season of Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to pick the best movie of 1991. I am your host, Greg. Joining me, as always, are my buddies Ryan and Mike. Are you ready to do it? Are you ready to pick 1991's Movie of the Year?
Is Last Boy Scout still eligible?
No, let me tell you what is still eligible, Mike. Still eligible.
I'll take my headphones off.
Silence of the Lambs, Thelma and Louise, Terminator 2, nope, Barton Fink, or A Brighter Summer Day.
Terminator 2, Barton Fink, I think.
Terminator 2. Man, they made him out of metal, and he's still got to make that wrestling picture. When you heard of these movies,
I will write this picture.
Mike, Silence of the Lambs, Thelma and Louise, Barton Fink, Brighter Summer Day. When the 91 season started, was this your pick for the Final Four?
This is exactly. I'm making a bunch of money in Vegas right now.
Oh, wow. Doing what?
I'm cocktailing on the side.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, and just good tippers these days.
I always thought you had the figure for that.
Thank you.
But how about specifically these movies? Are you prepared to talk about these four movies?
My smart money now, especially if I've never heard of it and it's not from US, I'm like, it's gonna at least be in the Final Four. That is, I've done. Okay. So Brighter Summer Day for sure. I would always just put money on that category.
I can't wait until we find some movie that's an absolute rake that we step on.
I
that
know.
Springs up and hits us in the face.
The Dueling Accountant from fucking Yugoslavia, which is garbage.
It was 5 hours long. Why didn't we watch this?
I would say if we took this poll before the season in 1991 when we started the season, I would have gone 1 for 4. I think Lambs was a slammy.
Yeah,
a lammy
slam
dump.
Lambs,
and the other 3. Good job, guys.
I would have known for a fact that T2 was in it. I think that was a stipulation of my doing the year. Was that T2 was going
to in your contract?
I was like, well, we already know what the winner's going to be, and so that'll be good.
Hey, I think I would have said Lambs, Terminator, Boys in the Hood.
Last Boy
JFK, which is not even in the real.
Hey, Mike, good job on you and I signing lifetime contracts to the show where Greg gets to renegotiate every season.
Year. And I have a different set of conditions.
The worst fucking lawyers.
I will be given a large taffy upon arriving at the studio every day.
Part of the
taffy,
problem is
the podcaster's treat.
Yeah, everybody loves that. I'm Ryan's lawyer and he's mine, and Greg is his own lawyer. And they say anybody who defends himself has a imbecile for a witness, but I think anybody who has Ryan or Mike for a lawyer has an even bigger imbecile.
An imbecile for a witness.
An imbecile. So I would like to call it imbecile. May I wear my dunce cap? But I think that we've got 2 of the iconic movies that everybody would think of it with 91. And then we've got 2 sort of like film enthusiast specials. And I'm very interested to see which side we go to on this one. But before we do that, I want to talk, Ryan, about the greatest musical moments of these movies. Movies are not just moving pictures, not anymore. They're also sounds, and a lot of those sounds are music. Ryan?
A lot of people don't
speak on that.
A lot of people don't realize that Greg was born in 1875.
They're still like, these newfangled talkies.
So what was Nickelodeon for me and Mike was much different for Greg. He was pumping nickels into a
literal Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Musical moments. We had one musical in this season, so we'll see how that does. I do have to let you know, Mike, that Mamushka, the Christopher Lloyd, Raul Julia sword dance was not nominated.
I thought that was going to take this fucking shit down.
I
thought there's no way Addams Family was going to win or go far at all, but I thought it could clean up a lot of the awards, and I was certain Mamushka could do a musical one.
Let's get to the nominees. Greg, Gaston lost in Best Sex.
He did, despite the fact that his chest is so hairy. Not unlike my own. There, I said it.
Can he win Best Song where they're just singing about what a fucking dope dick that guy has?
Obviously, Gaston is a piece of shit. Nobody's saying that he's not. But that
Gaston,
song
more like Gaslight.
is a banger, man. It gets in your head and it will not go away, and you don't want it to.
Nobody lays pipe like Gaston. I believe it.
Nobody chokes throat like Gaston.
You have to admit that Gaston sucks, right? Obviously.
Sure.
Some people are attracted to his big hairy chest. But of all the characters that appear in the park, he is one of the most entertaining. If you ever get a chance, if you ever see Gaston at the park,
oh yeah, because it's a crazy role reversal because he is constantly getting girls sexually harassing him. And he has to come up with like clever ways to get rid of them.
Innocent sassbacks.
They always find legitimately ripped, and not just like show ripped, but like legitimately strong guys to be the character, and so he can literally do push-ups with people like standing on his back. It's a good look.
Now, Mike, it says here that you've applied for the character role of Gaston. How are your clever sassbacks?
Better than my push-ups with somebody standing on my back, Ryan. My elbows have ripped through my skin when that happened before.
Does this make me your LeFou?
You are my LeFou.
Let's get away from Beauty and the Beast for just a second
like
in this
half a
musical
second.
moment. And, Mike, we're going to talk about your fucking baby boy throughout both of these finale episodes.
Yes.
It's Cat singing Angel Baby from A Brighter Summer Day.
His sweet little voice and his just like how pure in that moment he forgets the rest of the room, and the lead singer of the band just
Sly.
pulls back and is so into Cat. Like Sly's a dickhead, but everybody's just so into Cat. He's singing his little heart out. You know what? I don't think it really happened, but I would believe that Elvis would write him back.
It's literally shown to not happen in the movie.
Well, if you don't write Cat back, he will cut you with a fucking knife that he has.
Yeah, Kitten's got claws.
Yeah, Sly is like a phony gangster and not like an exceptional singer. Cat is the real deal in both cases.
Greg, the next one, we're going to stay away from Beauty and the Beast for one more second and talk about musical moments. They're not just set pieces. They're not just the song or the singer. It's just how important the song was. And this one is the song Work It Out by Moni Love from Ice Cube's Return Barbecue and Boys in the Hood.
Yeah. Very vibe setting. You know, this is like the whole movie pivots here, right? We go back into the world and we have all of our adult characters now, and it really does. It signals that change very effectively, and the movie becomes about like the sort of the interrelation of the sexes a lot more from that point forward.
With all the iconic shots in the movie, I think the most iconic, I think it's from the trailer, is putting the camera behind this baby boy's head and have him run through the house into the backyard, and then we see the backyard as this song comes up. The other thing I love about this part is this is what movies were just able to do back in the day, is they would turn the music up, and then two people were talking, so they turned it down, and then turned it back up, and then turned it down for like 7 minutes. You could
just a real finicky dad is just trying to mess with the volume while it's going on.
Mute these commercials. They're so loud.
Now, are you guys surprised that, because I assume it's just going to be Beauty and the Beast from here on out, that neither Vanilla Ice nor MC Hammer are going to end up in these? They both had killer
MC
entries.
Hammer is not in the Addams Family.
That's
no.
He's in Cousin It's car.
Yeah, that's
while
what
the
costs-
door is open.
It's like
and then he's over the credits.
the movie.
That doesn't count. That's not a musical moment.
To
Because
me,
we're not the Oscars.
to me, it felt like the movie didn't feel like it could contain MC Hammer, right? And so like they apologized for it by just having it be like the ambient in-car music. And then I think the Vanilla Ice thing got deeply tainted by the fact that the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze is a movie crime. And everyone associated with it belongs
just mean
in
the
movie
pier?
jail.
Super Shredder pushes over a dock and then dies, which is neither super nor does it shred, and that really has set Greg off in a way that I've never seen him before.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's all coming out. When I was a kid, it made me so upset, and I never knew that I would have a platform to talk about how upset I was. But I believe that the whole end is tainted by that. But also the Vanilla Ice parts, the sort of over-enthusiastic white people in the crowd and the like obviously confused black people in the crowd just kept it from really landing with me.
If Beauty and the Beast did not come out this year, then Vanilla Ice would be nominated. By the way, Greg, I want you to go up. Anytime anybody says, "Why do you have a podcast?" And you say, "I wanted to talk about the travesty of the third act of Ninja Turtles 2," that will be the most believable thing that they have ever heard in their entire life.
good.
Biggest
Okay, cool.
podcast sentence ever said.
All right, good.
All right, Mike, let's get to it. It's Belle. Belle going through her town.
The best intro to any Disney movie song. The best I Want song. They're doing it. They're blending it both at once.
I need 6 eggs.
That's too expensive. And really, as an adult watching, be like, oh, Belle's also an asshole. Like, I think that flew over my head as a little kid, but it's all in everything you need to know about this stupid little shithole town.
Yeah.
You learn about
The song
in
is
this
basically
song.
called "These Stupid Fucks."
Yeah. and they all pop their head out. And they're like, "I'm a stupid fuck. How are you, Belle?"
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
what
an
is that, a
imbecile.
book? Don't
She's
know how
hot,
to
but
read.
she's weird.
But the other thing too, this is what's important is bum 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 bum, like that catchy part of every Disney song. Greg, the final nominee is sung by Lumiere. It's Be My Guest from the film Beauty and the Beast.
This is one of those things where you're like, oh, I've seen it so many times. I've heard it so many times. There's no way that when I see it in situ in the movie that it's going to have any effect on me. You sound like a goddamn idiot when you say that. Because this starts happening and you just get more and more excited. And the crescendo of both the song and like the special effects and the animation, I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Legit, like this is the part of the podcast where we talk about this and we're like, did we make a mistake picking Brighter Summer Day, a cinematic classic, over Beauty and the Beast when we talk about Be My Guest? That's how fucking good it is.
Yeah, a real high point for the movie. Well, let's see what it is.
Your nominees are Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Be My Guest from Beauty and the Beast, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, Moni loves Work It Out from Boys in the Hood, and Cat sings Angel Baby from Brighter Summer a Day.
For the record, there are like 4 more songs in Beauty and the Beast, so we didn't just pick all of them.
We didn't even pick the famous one that I think was nominated for the Oscars. It's not as good.
This is so nerve-wracking.
Here we go. What's it gonna be? Be My Guest.
And it's Be Our Guest, though. I don't want to be that guy, but we are on a podcast.
Be Our Guest.
I don't want to be our guy, but I was thinking about Be My Guest, and I got pissed off. Be Our Guest, excuse me. I got pissed off about Friend Like Me. Like, what a fucking try hard ripoff of the heights of that previous movie.
It's almost 1-to-1thesaurus.com. They're like, all right. What's like a guest, but it's different. It's a friend. Okay. It's BR, like me. Okay. We could do this.
You're getting it.
And I don't want to be that guy, but it's Friend Like R. So.
Technically, it is Moves Like Jaeger.
Was that the most slam dunk award of the entire night?
Yeah, but it gave us a chance to talk about all those other cool music parts. But yeah, like in a musical, it is the musical piece. The one that I think might have gotten it is the entry song. You know, the Belle song. Yeah.
But I love when a bunch of characters know they're in a musical and they're like, well, sit down because you're about to experience some shit.
Well, listeners, sit down, because you're about to experience some shit. When we get back, it's our first battle of this round. All right, time to start making some of the real cruel cuts. So our number 1 seed, Silence of the Lambs, goes up against number 4 seed, Thelma and Louise. Silence of the Lambs took down Addams Family in the last round. Thelma and Louise took down Boys in the Hood. And now they're going against each other. To me, this is like the 2 biggest movies of 91 that people could never stop talking about, even over some of the other big ones.
And you know what? Like Terminator 2 made more money, but Terminator 2 like folds into the ether. That's a part of all moviedom. It's not a part of 1991. These 2 are so 91 to me. You know, that this is what makes it hard. And also there's some similarities. If we could do like hashtag girl boss.
Hashtag girl boss in it, but not. It would only get more obvious and lamer as time went on.
Yeah.
The 2000s suck for so many reasons, you guys.
But it's just
yeah. But yeah, just Clarice Starling and Thelma and Louise Starlings. The just how real
sisters.
And fully fleshed out they're all allowed to be. They're not Mary's Sue. They're interesting, nuanced characters to watch move through their world.
Is it weird at all that at the end of Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter is free, and at the end of Thelma and Louise, they are both dead? I guess they're not technically dead, but they're like close to it.
It's not weird in that.
They're free.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's how society works.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like such a bad criminal allowed to live, but when it's 2 ladies just like expressing themselves through some crimes, admittedly.
I wish that I could say that 2 female directors were able to make these 2 stories, and I cannot say that. I can only say that 2 incredible male directors made these 2 movies. But I do think that these 2 male directors, and we don't have any female directors left in the bracket, were, I think, revolutionary. I think, like, way ahead of their time. Insane. And I know this sounds stupid. These women also have stories to tell where it's not just about like what it's like to be a woman as opposed to a man, but what it's like to be a woman, period.
I feel like when Ridley Scott made this movie back in 91, people were like, oh, okay. But now knowing the rest of his catalog and looking back, it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's like a total Ridley Scott movie.
Because, I mean, if you look at before this movie, we have Sigourney Weaver from Alien and then Jodie Comer from The Last Duel. Like, yeah, it's all of a piece.
Yeah. For me, when we are comparing the best movies of a time, and like these are two, either one of these could be movie of the year, and nobody would give us any guff about it. But then I start getting into the like maybe the nitpicking, the minutia of it, and I have to say, personally, or let me ask you, does Silence of the Lambs deliver more consistently? Does Thelma and Louise get a little rickety at parts, get a little wonky, like with the oil tanker part?
I think Thelma and Louise comes from a time where like you sort of set up your premise and then you have like 19 skits and then you end it. Like that's just how movies were. And it's totally fine. Like I was hanging out with friends the other day and we were talking about Mr. Mom, and that movie is really just like, I'm going to stay at home then. That's the premise. And then
That's
19
the movie.
skits. And then the movie's over.
Rather than one narrative carrying
Yeah.
throughout. And this is like a road trip movie. It's a picaresque story, right? So it's gonna have those chapters. But
That's why you make a road trip movie,
But
is so you can have all those different wacky characters.
Silence of the Lambs is about how over like who killed who. It is about Clarice Starling like getting into her own.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs, if you wanted to pin it down to one scene, is about her being in that scene with all the other dude cops,
Right.
and them towering over her and her being like, fuck this, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do.
And the other one I think of is when she's trying to like Indiana Jones under the garage door, but she gets like caught and like I have to figure this out for my own. And like I'm not in a movie. I'm not an adventurer. I'm not Indiana Jones. I'm a fucking real ass person who has to handle this. I'm goddamn Jodie Foster, and I have
She's
to
a
figure
real
this
girl,
out.
yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And like it's not just that Thelma and Louise is a road trip movie, and it's not just that it's a bunch of like skits. It feels like sometimes it's the fact that when it enters into this kind of magical realism state, which I think the movie does, enters sort of like the dreamy Western dream of America. There are parts in it that just don't work. And there's that whole scene with the truck driver. There's that whole weird interlude that's a lot shorter, but it's still equally weird, where the Rastafarian bike rider comes by.
That bugs me so much more than the oil tanker blowing up.
Like literally, what is that doing? Why is it in the movie? Because it feels like somebody went, we have literally no people of color in our movie.
Gina and Susan needed the day off, so they're like, hey, the actors came up with a little fun thing.
But like, would you say that these are two movies based on chemistry, right? Like co-actor chemistry.
Sure.
And when they're not on screen, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Shooter McGavin. Chris McDonald? What's his fucking name?
Chris O'Donnell. He
Chris
played
O'Donnell.
Robin in Batman and Robin.
Yeah. I don't know. I find him watchable and shit, even though he's shitty. I think Harvey Keitel crushes it. I'm not.
Crushes it?
I love this guy, I think. Between Hacks and then this, I'm like, oh yeah, I think I've always loved this guy.
I
just want to keep doing everything.
I don't like his character in this, but I think that's because I identify with it too much, right? Because he's the boy.
Woke.
The boy who is part of boy world but wants to be part of girl world but not enough.
Oh, you mean Harvey Keitel?
Yes.
And just wants to tell women, like, no, I'm here for you.
Right.
But then, like, not really do it. Like, you know, but just be like, actually, I am over here with these guys, but I am supporting you silently to myself. And so that makes me not like him. Well, what can I say? At some point, you got to ask the question, don't you, Ryan?
I would say that no movie, honestly, moved up more to my estimation than Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was like, that's a good movie. That's a good movie. And when watching it, I thought it was great. But Silence of the Lambs is
it hasn't been transmitted through the culture as much. Like, there's so many movies that, from this year, like Terminator 2, when you watch them, you're rewatching all the references. Thelma and Louise, there's only like one or two things that are actually in. Yeah. And so a lot of it was more surprising.
And I wonder if at the time there were people in that diner in like a suburb of Des Moines where they always go to ask Republicans, like, what do you think about things?
Mm-hmm.
Were they like, this Thelma and Louise, this is Butch and Sundance. It used to be fucking men and now it's women. Like, were they upset about this? I bet they were. And I think that's cool that you upset those people in that diner. But I think Silence of the Lambs is by far the superior movie. I
think this is Thelma and Louise is a revisionist Western before anybody knew that fancy name to call it that.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised that more people don't talk about this movie as like one of the early refigurings of the Western, because they don't try to hide it in any way. They're like,
No,
get ready
yeah.
for a Western. Here comes a Western. You're watching a Western.
And so much of what we talked about in our episode is how Susan Sarandon shoots the guy with no threat of violence.
Yeah.
That move makes it like that's how we develop those characters. That's how it's a revisionist Western.
Well,
But I have to go with silence.
you sound Silence of the Lambs, Ryan. Mike, what do you say?
I could do a whole big build-up as well, but let's just say ditto to what Ryan said.
Don't be
And
a
Silence
don't
of the
be a
Lambs.
dumb fuck. Just be supportive of me.
I'm supporting you.
We do support you, and we support Silence of the Lambs, which is moving on to that's the finals. That is one of the spots in the finals secured. Thelma and Louise, thank you. You did change our lives. You did give us something to talk about. But it's Silence of the Lambs moving on. When we come back, we're going to talk about Best On-Screen Duo. Well, that is very, very funny. Or very sad. And perhaps now you have something to think about. Or very problematic, and perhaps we have something to think about. But in any event, I'm sure you have some reaction to what you're listening to. So why not check us out on the social media? You can go to Instagram or Twitter and find us at YourPopFilter. Email contacts@YourPopFilter. Hey, everybody. Keep watching them movies. All right, Ryan, we are throwing to you for the nominees for Best On-Screen Duo. This is my favorite category.
Michael,
Yes.
you know who was not nominated?
No, come on, they have to be.
Did you really think that they were going to get nominated? Go ahead, talk about them.
They're my favorite on-screen duo from childhood on. Toka and Razor. To be so cute, yet so terrifying at the same time for a kid's movie. And was I mad that they weren't Bebop and Rocksteady the first time I saw the movie? You know I was. Because those were my bad guy mutants.
How is the story behind that? You can use basically all of the regular characters.
Everything we've ever created.
But you are not
these
allowed
two.
to use
This fucking
Bebop and Rocksteady.
mutant rhino and this mutant boar, those are ours.
That's absurd. We want a different kind of turtle that won't confuse the kids at all, and a wolf.
We talked about this on the show, Mike. They literally never address the fact that that's another turtle. They just don't mention it. So they don't want you to really think about how it's another turtle. They're like,
I
no.
was 7, and I was like, but
But
should
that's
they
a
try to
turtle.
get him on their side?
There
Should they at
are-
least be like, hey, I'm a turtle. I see the turtle in me. I see the turtle in you.
There's so many other animals in the world. Like
Yeah.
octopus,
They literally were like,
giraffe.
we're not allowed to use these characters. We don't want to make new costumes. And so somebody was like, well, we do have like a spare turtle costume. So that could be one of them, right? We'll just be
My
like,
cousin was a wolfman once. He still has that costume.
Everyone has a cousin.
my cousin has a Wolfman costume for a reason, and he can bring it as long as we let him take it to the dry cleaners.
Is it going to look wetter than you think a wolfman should? Sure.
Toka and Razor are not nominated.
Wow.
Greg, your first nominee is already winner Charlie and maybe future winner Barton. It's Barton and Charlie.
Yeah. I feel like you get to the end of this movie and you appreciate their relationship even more. All throughout the movie, you're like, this is kind of bothering me. They're like, I'm tired of this guy. And then when you start seeing who Charlie really is, then their whole relationship takes on a different shine, takes on a different meaning. And their scenes really are very good and very compelling.
Yeah, and their scenes feel like a play in a good way. You don't need anything else. It's just these two dudes sitting on a bed talking to each other.
Also-
or not letting each other talk,
I
which feels relatable.
Okay, I interrupted you so many times during that sentence,
Yeah,
which is
awkward
ironic.
timing.
But like, haven't you always been a Barton or a Charlie of like, oh man, I want to hang out. Why won't this person hang out with me? Or please get the fuck out of my
That's
room,
adult friendship,
dude.
my friend.
But Mike really pointed out it's because all Barton wants to do is talk to people. But what that means to him is talk at them,
Yeah,
and they just
lecture.
listen. Yeah.
Here is my intellect.
Meanwhile, the exact thing he is looking for, which is a salt of the earth, but very complicated and very broken person, is right there, and he literally keeps saying, I could tell you some stories.
But in in Act 1 of that movie, did you guys know that he was evil or like?
Oh, no.
Oh man, it's just
No.
like, this is
Not
like
even a little bit.
He's a good guy that sucks.
Yeah, he's just a
Yeah.
sucky guy.
He's a nice guy. I want him out of here.
It's part of what sucks about Barton's full experience is that he's got this guy who there's nothing bad about him necessarily, but he's annoying. And it turns out, well, no, there actually is something pretty bad
Right.
about it.
I find in every conversation I'm having with people, I'm always doing a comically like, well, I'm about to leave. Oh, you're gonna say another sentence? That's
Cool.
That's these two.
Shame my garage door is already coming down.
Mike, this one's a little more relatable to us. It's Bodie and Johnny from Point Break.
Yeah, sometimes you're a cult leader, sometimes you're the cult leader's number 2 guy. And the passion and electricity that fires between Keanu and Patrick here, it's bananas.
Do you remember them after the fight where they beat up those surfers and they're just like, "Oh, we're the best of friends."
Yeah,
Friends
dude.
forever.
We got that post fight high, which it's wrong to fight, but after a fight, sometimes you just feel good.
Yeah. I bet. I know that after I'm getting the shit kicked out of me by 2 guys, I'm like, I hope they feel good.
Yeah, Ryan's one of the evil surfers in that scenario.
I hope they enjoyed themselves.
Greg, this is a different friendship. It's Clarice and Hannibal.
Yeah, well, okay, like, it's not best friendship, though, right? It's best on-screen duo, and that could mean a lot of things. And
you have to admit, Hannibal never threw jizz at her face.
He did not. In
You
fact,
have to admit.
he apologized for that, and he talked the guy who did it into killing himself. So that's really
So he's got a little bit of white knight
little
syndrome.
white knight, yeah.
Creamy, bleachy white knight.
You know, what is interesting about a duo is that they bring out different sides of people, and those two, like, kind of reveal facets of the characters to themselves.
Mike, the next nominee. It's from the movie Thelma and Louise.
Oh, who could it be?
Their names are Thelma and Louise. Now,
Tokar and Razor.
we are
making a brief appearance.
Do you want to do the 91 Avengers thing again? Just those two in the convertible.
In a car. But they're not driving off a cliff because it's like a spiritual freeing moment. They're just so fucking dumb.
And they're just so dumb because they're babies.
Just dumb
They're just
babies who
little
can
babies.
drive now.
Shredder hates them because they're babies. I love them because they're babies. Thelma and Louise, they are dealing with their own shit the entire movie. But what about when they're in the car together?
Yeah, they are both strong at different things. They think their relationship is one way, and they learn in this short time together it's actually a different way. And Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis are pretty big actresses, and then watching this movie, it's infuriating that they're not even bigger actresses. They
but
are
you mean big in
goddamn
terms of
stars.
popular, because they're so
Yes.
reserved for so
Right.
much of this, and that's really what makes it work. Like, I thought they were going to go out and have fun the entire movie, and part of what's interesting about the movie is it takes them a while to even figure out what their relationship is once they hit the road. They've got a relationship that works when they're back home, and they have a new relationship when they hit the road, and they do a good job working you through that so that you kind of earn their duo-ness, you know, like
For sure.
when they really become themselves in the third act, you're just so excited, and that really, like, the
'Cause
movie earns that.
I mean, we get
Watch
to see,
them grow.
Yeah, we get to see Susan Sarandon say to Gina Davis, "Do not mention fucking Texas again."
yeah.
But we also get to watch Susan Sarandon say, "Oh, you just did that shit? That wasn't cool, but we are ride or die, and here we go." You get
Maybe
to,
both.
Yeah, all of it.
Ride and die.
Greg, the final nominee has already won an award, but let's do it. It's Morticia and Gomez from the Addams Family.
The scintillating heat in every conversation. They both may be pale and cold as corpses, but when they speak to each other, the heat radiates off the screen in a way that, if anything, borders on inappropriate sometimes when they're like in the same room as their kids.
I would say the heat is on, which makes me say the cold is off.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Normal phrase.
All right. Do you want to read the nominees again?
Sure. Your on-screen duos are not Toka and Razor. They are Barton and Charlie from Barton Fink, Bodie and Johnny from Point Break, Clarice and Hannibal from The Silence of the Lambs, Morticia and Gomez from The Addams Family, and Thelma and Louise from Thelma and Louise.
Clean.
Very, very tiny. Very tiny tear. And your winner is Morticia and Gomez, taking their second award for Addams Family.
Wow.
We have a thing here.
I think this is showing a lot of who we are as people.
Excellent. That's really what you want out of your podcast, is to expose who you really are. When we come back, we're going to get to our next battle. Competing to go for that last spot in the finals, it's Barton Fink, our number 10 seed, versus A Brighter Summer Day, our number 11 seed. We're gonna have a big upset no matter what when we get to the finals, potentially. I don't think 10 or 11 seeds often make it in there. Like, I think we are usually pretty chalk when it comes down to it. Now, these are our 2 filmiest films, and maybe they're not as big. Maybe they didn't make quite the impression that some of these bigger movies did. But is that really going to stand in their way, do you think, Mike?
No, I do not. Because sometimes I forget what movie was described as undeniable last episode, and these are undeniable in a different way, because I think I was talking about like undeniably film, like movie as movies, and these are undeniable film as films.
Ryan, do you think they're kind of splitting the vote? Like, it almost feels, I'm wondering if it's almost a little rough for Barton Fink to have to go up against A Brighter Summer Day, because if we're talking about movie ass movies, is it maybe a little outclassed?
Yeah, I think that if we had Barton Fink and Brighter Summer Day versus Silence and Thelma, right? Like, those are the 2 Hollywoods versus the 2.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so cool and I watch movies, sort of movies. These 2 together, I don't know. And I just keep going back to the fact that, like, Barton Fink changed stuff. Brighter Summer Day has never been seen. I don't know what to do with that.
Also, like, now that we're getting to the end, these are 2 of the probably the 2 most upsetting movies we have from the 91 year.
Not just because they're lower seeds, but
right. They're both interrogating violence, which makes you have to deal with violence.
And
yeah.
also flip the table on what they're against.
Yeah, and you know, A Brighter Summer Day is so long, but the very end of it is as upsetting as anything that's happened in any of the movies that we've seen, and it has this weird way of working back on the action, because you're like, wow, I was just watching something that felt like a romance-ish, right, for 4 hours, and then at the end of it, it feels like that totally defines what happens, right? You have the 4 kills. What's her name?
Lisa Yang?
Yeah. I can't remember. Oh, Lisa Yang. The actress name. And in a way that, like, it reflects so negatively on everything that came before it, I wonder, in a way. And Barton Fink kind of does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, shit.
And they both do, like, oh, this could be a protagonist, and you're like, well, I kind of don't like them at all now by the end of the movie.
But, like, are you saying that, like, we sort of said our stuff subtly, now we need a third act real quick, and then just, like, whip up a third act?
I guess I'm just looking for what separates them, right? And so, like, how I feel kind of at the end of the movie is part of it, right? And the way I felt at the end of Barton Fink, it's kind of a sensational ending, and so it's a little bit less dark, right? Like, it is awful. The hotel is burning. It feels like the hell that Barton Fink has been in, kind of spiritually, he is now almost in literally.
Plus, let's not forget that, like, it actually ends on a beach. So you're going to cut yourself short by that. Like, all the dark work that you did, now we're just on a beach, and I don't even know what the beach means.
Yeah, like, we don't even know where we are exactly or what's going on, right? Because we're inside a photo, and the photo itself looks like not an actual photo, but like a composite of different images.
A photo that the camera was not scared of showing us the entire movie.
Yeah, to remind us how important it was. But, like,
this will be important.
I feel like there is some sort of artistic separation that takes place in Barton Fink at the end, which keeps us a little protected from how devastating it could be. But quite frankly, at the end of A Brighter Summer Day, you are devastated. It feels so awful.
The different where both endings can be surprising, but Brighter Summer Day, if you watch it again after seeing the ending, you're like, oh, it always was going to lead here.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of had to. And Barton Fink, I think you could make the argument that it was like, I don't know, set the hotel on fire?
Yeah, which is crazy because I did not know that it was going to end here. I don't know why it ended here, but I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. It's, like, certainly both movies are going to mess with your head. Both movies are going to mess with your emotions. But ultimately, I think what we have to decide is what we want to be left with. What kind of messages matter to us.
And in that way, like, I do want to go back to Mike's thing that I made so much fun of which CD from your CD case, like, on your, like, I'm going to go back to Barton Fink, not because it's more enjoyable, but because there's more questions left unanswered.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I think that's
more
true.
Like in a poetry way, not like in a, this is fun and I love to listen to it way.
Yeah, because
there's more to chew on because there's gaps of, like, how reliable is the narrator? At what point Is he in hell? When does reality break down?
Right, which they're fucking bastards about because they don't even know. They don't even care.
No.
They only do that so you will question it, but they don't have any answers.
That's poetry.
They're bastards.
Not that it's horribly original, but like when you are telling a story about Hollywood, how do you like? Is that a real place? Is there a reality there? So like, is it even possible?
And we talked about the Day of the Locust movie and book on the Barton Fink show of like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This is all false. It's not just the sets. Everywhere you touch, it's false.
And yet, Brighter Summer Day, although it also features a movie studio,
That is true.
does very much feel more grounded in a reality. And so it's, I guess what I'm getting at here is like, either you want to be protected a little bit by Barton Fink, or you want to have the raw exposure to A Brighter Summer Day. I think that's going to be the main separating factor. All right, gentlemen. It's time to do it. We have to choose between Barton Fink and Brighter Summer Day. Ryan?
Greg, I swear to God, I left this to the end. I didn't know what I was going to do, but it's Barton Fink.
Barton Fink. Mike, agree, disagree?
I will not be chanting in the back of a pickup truck because I vote for Brighter Summer Day.
Which means it comes to me, which is
Mike,
always
we are killing this as far as that let's put it on Greg thing.
And here is how I'm ultimately going to decide. There is so little daylight in between these two movies in terms of how I feel about them, how much I enjoyed them. But A Brighter Summer Day, just nobody knows this movie, and nobody thinks 1991. They should know this movie. They should think 1991. I think it's a better movie than Barton Fink. But I think Barton Fink is known. It was referenced on The Simpsons. People will know it when we we say it to them. And I think it has a little bit more rewatchable potential, which is not nothing, right? I think matters a little bit. So I'm going to go with Barton Fink, and that is going to move on to the finals to face off against The Silence of the Lambs. But before we get there, I think it's time to talk about the biggest shithead.
Hola, Filterinos. I just wanted to interrupt real briefly and say thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. If you want to support us a little more directly, you can go to patreon.com/yourpopfilter. There, depending on what tier you pick, $1 a month, $5 a month. If you're crazy, anything more than $5 a month, don't do that. You can get extra content. There's extra shows, extra series, behind-the-scenes stuff. You could pay for Ryan to draw you a picture. I can write you a poem. You can get the shirts off our very own backs. All of that and so much more over at patreon.com/yourpopfilter. While you're on the internet, you should check out Shady Monk. He does all the tunes you've been listening to. He's on Bandcamp, he's on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever kids get their music these days that I'm too old to know. Shady Monk lives there. You can probably follow him on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's Shady Monk. Wherever you get music, check him out.
We are here with some more awards. We're going to start off with Biggest Shithead. And so to read the nominees for the award for Biggest Shithead, we're bringing in one of America's biggest sweethearts, Caitlin. Welcome to the show, Caitlin.
Oh,
What
thank
a twist.
you.
Now, Caitlin, we've been receiving a lot of emails. Does biggest shithead mean best villain?
I think no. Because best villain, sometimes you like the villain.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
like Gaston,
Sometimes it's like-
not a shithead.
Yeah.
No, Gaston kind of
Yeah,
shit.
he is a shithead.
Like, some villains are kind of shitheads, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like Killmonger. Some people watch the movie Black Panther and they're like, Killmonger, he's got a good idea. And so they
He's
wouldn't
not a
think
shithead.
he's
No.
not, he's too handsome to be a shithead,
'Cause,
probably.
yeah, you don't want to punch him. These
No.
are all like
Claw, if we're staying just in the Black Panther universe, Claw
Yes.
is the biggest
That's
shithead.
perfect. Yeah,
And
perfect.
the one that we always use is Die Hard, movie of
Yes.
the year winner. Die Hard. Alan Rickman is a villain. Remember that fucking coked up bearded idiot?
That guy's the shithead.
That's the shithead.
That's the absolute shithead. So that's what we're dealing with here.
Henderson?
So for nominees for biggest shithead, we have first starting out Daryl from Thelma and Louise. Up next is
Whoa! We have to talk about Daryl.
Okay.
What is the initial after it?
M.
That's Mike.
Yes.
All right, so this is Baby Shooter McGavin. And oh man, did so early in his career did he go, I'm going to be the most memorable shithead in every movie I'm in. People will never be able to forget what a shit I am. You believe that he is this flippant and this disgusted by his own wife and just wants a mommy wife to do his chores and sit at home while he goes and fucks and parties.
Now, Thelma, I told you. I don't like that dinner. I want this dinner.
And
That's a very good impression.
She's trying to get him to go to work in the beginning of it, and she's like, you gotta go to work. You gotta go to work. He's like, don't holler at me.
Don't holler. Also, the thing about Daryl that I will always remember is when he's screaming at the people that are working on his house. In the very beginning of the movie.
And he's like, be gone by 3?
And he goes to go in his like Corvette or whatever. He eats shit so hard.
I think that must have hurt that actor.
No. It was not in the script. It was
He
unplanned.
goes down hard because he's wearing dress shoes and then walking on plywood, so there's like nothing there to give you any purchase. The other thing about Daryl to keep in mind is he spends more time in the sand, Ryan, than David Hasselhoff. Right?
Greg,
I went out of
did you come up with that right now?
I played 18 with this guy. I spent more time in the sand than David Hasselhoff, right? Spent more time in the water than Jason Momoa, right? More time in the rough than Aladdin. Okay, continue.
Oh, Daryl. Our next nominee for biggest shithead is Dr. Frederick Chilton from The Silence of the Lambs, and this is brought to you by Greg.
Dude, okay. This is a perfect example of like, you don't have to necessarily be a bad guy. This Chilton is like, he's got everything figured out, right? And he knows how to work with these like demented people. But then also he's like lording it over Starling the entire time and treating her like he's just a big piece of shit.
I still think these are all based on the guy who went to Ghostbusters headquarters, right? Like William Atherton who was also a shithead in Die Hard. William Atherton going there, and like these doctors in charge of people who need the most help are the worst fucking people.
And when he finds out that she's not fucking like interested in anything he has to say, he's just like, all right, well, good luck with the psychos, and then he like abandons her.
For not one of the serial murderers from this movie to be on this list, but this guy is, he's a fucking shithead.
No, I mean, Greg made like an impassioned plea to please respect Ted Levine from Silence of the Lambs. Yet this guy can fucking eat shit and die.
There's some glimmer of hope in Buffalo Bill, but not in Dr. Chilton.
Wow, some big shitheads here, but there's another nominee brewing. It's Dr. Silberman from Terminator 2, brought to you by Mike.
Same thing.
We hate doctors.
Yeah, dude.
We hate doctors. We don't believe in institutions here. Specifically mental health institutions. It's anytime an old dude is going to use his power sucks and then use it over women sucks. And this guy is trying to use his power over a woman who's supposed to be in his care. It's disgusting.
I want to say that he knows that one of his nurses is routinely licking the face of one of his patients and doesn't.
I don't know how you would. He's somehow making money off of that.
Yeah. He's making 10 grand a lick. And with that fucking blue-filled syringe into his neck, I'm like, do
Hit
it, dude.
Kill him.
Do it, Linda.
Push it in there.
Do it.
He's a shit.
Even if it's not in the script, Linda, do it.
Just kill the actor.
Oh, all right. On to the next nominee. It's Shelby's ex from My Girl, brought to you by Greg.
Okay. Shelby's ex pops up near the end of the movie, and it answers one important question, which is like, can Shelby, like, does she have good choice in men? Nope. This guy is such a piece of garbage, and you can tell he's one of these guys that's not tough, but is tall, and so has like sort of gotten by like.
Actually, if I can interrupt, I'm real tired of the whole like, is your boyfriend hot or is he just tall?
Yeah.
That's starting to piss me off because it's really wrecked my entire identity.
But Ryan, you're very tall, so you don't have
thank you, Greg.
You don't have anything to worry about. But he's just so like sleazy.
It's just like the whole.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
always
is this who you're with
code.
now? Yeah. And let's face it, he's got curly hair, and you just can't trust somebody
We're
with hair that
anti-curly
curly.
hair on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, our last nominee for biggest shithead, it's Sly from A Brighter Summer Day, brought to you by Mike.
Look, anybody named Sly is kind of a shithead. And then we only have one room in our heart for one decent Sly.
We
That's
talked about this
Stallone.
on the lost episode. That
Yeah.
Sylvester is a weird name that only 3 terrible people have: a cat, a boxer, and this guy.
Yeah, he's such a he uses like his lieutenantism of the actual cool gang leader, and I'll use that in quotes. He's such a crony. He's just always so quick to
fake.
wherever the wind goes. Yeah, he's a fake and a phony and a crony, and I hate him.
You watch him act tough like 3 times right in the beginning of the movie, and every time he tries to act tough to somebody, that person just starts slapping him in the face.
Yeah,
until he apologizes and runs away.
Wow. Okay, so some big shitheads here, but who's the biggest of them all? Is there an envelope?
There's an envelope, and I'm going to
Who are the
open-
nominees, Caitlin?
Oh, the nominees again are Daryl from Thelma and Louise, Dr. Frederick Chilton from The Silence of the Lambs, Dr. Shilberman from Terminator 2, Shelley's ex from My Girl, Sly from A Brighter Summer Day.
Now, Caitlin, for the first time, I'm going to be opening this envelope.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And for the first time, I'm withdrawing the name.
Ooh.
And for the first time, I'm saying that it is Daryl from Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
What a big shithead.
Here's my change, or at least my co-tie. Like, somebody should tie with Daryl. And we hate Christopher McDonald as a generation, right? Like, Shooter McGavin is
No,
awful.
wait,
love to
not
hate
the
him.
guy. Not the
Yeah.
guy.
But even in Hacks, like, he's so awful. I do want to kind of flip it to the guy who had the truck who kept putting his tongue between his fingers. That
Yes!
should be the winner.
Dude,
Yeah.
that should be the winner. He almost ruins the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
In two ways, like in a meta way
Yeah.
and in an in-movie way.
In script, yeah.
All right, well, moving off the biggest
Men
shitheads
are the biggest shithead.
to a group of men who I'm sure are in no way shitheaded. The best actors. Caitlin, who are our nominees for the best actors?
Your nominees for Best Actor are not. Oh, do you want to go over the not nominated first, or just go straight into the
yeah,
nominees?
not nominated. Who
Okay.
was not nominated?
Not nominating Cuba Gooding Jr. Mike.
That is pretty surprising. This is, you can see why this was like a career defining performance, and then it does feel like the rest of his career was either chasing this or letting it slip through his fingers.
Won an Oscar for a career-defining performance.
That makes sense.
So
This one?
I would say Jerry Maguire would be his.
Oh, yeah.
Well, career making then, not defining.
I don't know. Is he good in this? Is he closer to the Furious Styles? I'm going to take this movie seriously, or is he closer to the? Is this a Hallmark movie?
I have to
No.
say, in most of his roles, I'm like, is he killing it, or is he is he like, kind of like not taking this seriously?
Even in Snow Dogs?
I love
Even-
Snow Dogs.
Even in
I
Snow
believe that.
Dogs.
Of course you would.
Now, there's no rule in snow dogging that says that a dog can't do it. So
Well, Cuba Gooding Jr., you got to wait till the dog's mush in the future. But actually nominated for Best Actor, it's Chang Chen, nominated by Greg.
Chang Chen from Brighter Summer Day, right? Which one's Chang Chen, Ryan?
yeah, the main character.
The main character.
The guy.
Oh, so 4.
Four, which means death in
Which means-
Chinese.
Yeah.
We all knew that our whole lives.
And you watch this kid kind of not react to a lot of what's happening. I grew up with a kid like this who would be completely silent and still until he had reached the point of rage, and then was like violent explosion. And that's what you see a lot with him. And what you realize at the end of the movie is you've watched that draw out over the course of the entire movie as well. And he reminded me of people I had grown up with who didn't express themselves, but who felt a lot of deep rage at its core. I think he carried it off very well.
Was this kid that he reminded you of? Was it you? Was it the person?
It was
in the
me.
mirror?
It was a young Greg who wasn't in touch with his
I mean, just like-
feelings yet.
just like-
didn't know how to talk, didn't know how to verbalize.
Lisa winning Best Supporting Actress. Lisa Yang from this movie. I could see it because it's just like you're just sitting there watching, but man, are you doing so much?
All right, our next nominee, it's Anthony Hopkins.
Ooh.
Brought to you by Greg.
Of course. Anthony Hopkins. I think all other of his roles will always be compared to this. I feel like we sometimes say about actors, like you can tell that they're having fun and it's a negative thing. I feel like he really got himself into a good place where he was hamming it up, because on top of everything else that Hannibal Lecter likes to do, he likes to like ham it up a little bit,
Right.
which is the weirdest thing.
This is why I pick Hopkins over Daniel Day-Lewis, is because Daniel Day-Lewis picks these people who should be very stoic, and he's like, well, I'm Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah. And
He lets the mustache do a lot of the talking.
Anthony Hopkins, and a lot of people don't know this, but he went method with this, and so he was killing people for like 6 months.
Yeah. But
to
the
really
government-
get
He's
there.
just too good.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Chilton wants everybody to know that Chilton is the smartest guy in the room, and he never is. Hannibal Lecter wants everybody to know he's the smartest guy in the room, but he kind of is, so we like him more for it, I guess. It's weird.
There's so many scenes where Jodie Foster comes back to the room, and she's like, that didn't help me. And he was like, I gave you 4 maps. All of them wrong. I didn't give you the right map. And like, all right, Anthony Hopkins.
And every time she's just like, jeez.
Jesus.
All right, your next nominee, it's Raul Julia, brought to you by Mike.
Oh hell yeah.
It's sad that this guy is dead. I was gonna say it's sad when anybody's dead. That's not fucking true.
No.
A lot of people should die.
I'm fucking glad
But
Hitler's dead personally.
it
I hope
is
that's
sad.
okay with you, Mike.
Raul Julia is dead. Dave Hitler, your old neighbor, he was fine. But he to totally understand and get the tone of the Addams Family, and just not everybody in the movie itself could not rise to his level. But the level of bombacity and big, and I guess this guy is having fun with it, and it is not a negative at all.
And everybody's capital P performing. But he is
Yes.
doing it in the exact right way. Greg, is Gomez Addams Mike's sort of spirit animal? Like, is this the closest to best actor that we've ever seen for Mike?
Maybe,
you.
perhaps he's goth and flamboyant,
Overly
and
hairy, overly sexual,
a little dangerous, you know.
always
I love
throwing
all of this.
swords.
None of this is an insult.
Have we talked about how Mike just used to own gloves with the claws on them? That's some Raul Julia from Addams Family shit.
Oh, man. All right, our next nominee, it's Patrick Swayze, brought to you by Mike.
Yeah, so this is Bodie?
Yeah.
Bodie from Point Break, and just it's if you told anybody in the streets we were nominating him for Best Actor, they'd be like, all right, surfer guy. Fuck you, watch the movie again, idiots.
Yeah, dude.
The you believe he is a cult leader, bank robber, surf guru. Like,
This is one of those
he can-
performances where you're like, is this performance actually a little too good for
Keanu-
this movie? Like,
Keanu
is it-
Reeves and Gary Busey and Lori Petty are in the movie that they're supposed to be in. And Patrick Swayze is like, no, I will elevate.
this is a
No.
think piece, right?
yeah.
This is
I'm going to
drama.
make people write think pieces 25 years from now.
All right, your final nominee.
And also his name is Bodie. What a fucking badass name.
It's a
Fucking
surfer
And it's
ass
like-
name.
okay.
Bada Kanasava. Like, it's like
Nobody ugly has been named Bodie.
oh man, and he's beautiful in this.
No
Like,
bad
like we're
children.
talking like 2% body fat.
He's
He's
got
got
the thing where,
major
like-
surfer bod.
Oh, I thought I cleaned all the sand off, and yet I still glisten. Like, that's
Oh,
Bodie in this movie.
No, it's not.
All right, your last nominee. It's John Turturro. Turturro, brought to you by Greg.
Star of Severance, star of the Batman.
The Batman, right?
The guy who told
He
us
is the Batman.
Wasn't John Turturro a better surprise in The Batman than Barry Keoghan as the Joker?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
100%. Yeah. And I'm thinking this guy is a potential pop filter Hall of Famer.
I think so.
Oh,
too, yeah.
he's got it written all over.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point. But of course.
When is he bad? When is he bad?
And when he's bad, that's when he's his best, Ryan.
He even
He's-
makes I
Those
like
are
him as
think
the
pieces.
Jesus, which I think a lesser actor could have made even stupider.
Although
in,
he did make a sequel
what's that
to
movie?
Big Lebowski as the Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not going to see that.
But in this, as Barton Fink, he carries it, and he is very much the least likable protagonist of all time. Like,
Yes.
we see him suffering so much, and that suffering does nothing to bring us closer to the character, and it's because John Turturro does such a good job of being as annoying as the fly in his own room.
And I'm not saying
It's-
that. Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say it's that he does a good job of that, but it's also Barton Fink, the character, is more the three of us than I've seen in any movie we've ever covered for this show.
Even Bodie from Point Break.
Slightly even more than Bodie from Point
I'm not
Break.
going to say that every filmmaker makes their protagonist them, but this is the one where it is. Like,
Yeah.
how he can't handle being alone, but how he can't handle being around people. Woof. That is Cohen. For
Get you a
days.
brother who can do both.
So who are our nominees again, Caitlin?
Our nominees again. Not nominated again. Reminder, it's Cuba Gooding Jr. But nominated, it's Chang Chen, Anthony Hopkins, Raul Julia, Patrick Swayze, and John Turturro.
And are we cool with Anthony Hopkins being in this category? Finally? Officially?
Lead?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it may. I mean, yeah. I think if you ask anybody walking down the street, that he would be considered a lead.
He's on the cover. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
He's the moth.
Oh, he's opening.
But who will be Best Actor? And your winner is Anthony Hopkins.
Whoa!
Yeah.
So good thing we didn't object to it right at the
Yeah,
end.
that
That would
would've
have
been
been
awkward.
shit.
No, you know what? This is horse shit.
All right.
I think what I'm learning is that we like psychopaths with the cool collectiveness instead of
Yeah.
the woo-hoo-hoo, I'm crazy.
And our
Yes.
our
They're
last
annoying.
our last category of awards is Best Actress.
Your nominees for Best Actress. It's Anna Klumsky, brought to you by Greg.
For a child actor, she does an amazing job, and she's acting absolute laps around Macaulay Culkin. And because, which I don't think is necessarily the Macaulay Culkin's fault. He's just the kid. The kid's kind of a turd.
And honestly, at this point, Macaulay Culkin has a persona which he is going back to. Like, this is Kevin McAllister in the 60s. Whereas Anna Klumsky, like, you can see her newness and it's refreshing. It's not terrible. It's not like her amateurness ruins the movie. It's awesome.
It's got that same energy that we get out of A Brighter Summer Day, where it's like there is a type of acting that non-actors do that can actually feel more realistic because it's like they don't know the moves and they just sort of they react, which I've heard is what acting is.
And what's awesome is so she disappeared forever and then came back and is still so fucking good.
Yeah.
And Veep is one of the shining moments, and even in that boring ass show, people like one of the Plainview girls. This is a real story. And Inventing Anna.
Yeah,
she's very good in that.
Yeah, my wife really liked that show, and she liked Anna Klumsky in it.
All right, your next nominee for Best Actress is Gina Davis, brought to you by Mike.
Dude,
Mike, did you fall in love?
Yeah, again, because A League of Their Own was on all the time in my household as a kid, and I've seen her in very little else. And then seeing her in this, I'm like, again, why is she not one of the biggest actresses of all time?
Well, she was in a Moody movie, Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse, yeah. But the answer to your question, literally, Mike, is the movie Cutthroat Island. That's why she's not in.
Cutthroat? What is Cutthroat Island? Is that some sort of pirate movie?
Like a pirate action movie that she was the star of. Didn't it like totally ruin her career? It was like a big flop.
It totally ruined a studio's career. So that's how you get kicked out. And then back to back with The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Which I liked as a kid.
The Long Kiss Goodnight rules.
She turns out
I've seen the trailer for that a bunch. And in Beetlejuice, of course, she crushes. I think she can do so many variations of like, oh, you think she's just like a normal housewife, and she just goes twist, 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 and it's a different twist every time she does it.
She is so good. Even as many times we've seen her as like an action star, as secretly dangerous, she still every single time is like, well, actually, I'm just very inoffensive and nice. And you're like, oh yeah, and then she's like, no, wait, I'm not.
Think about how botched this could have been, where it's like, oh, I'm so innocent. You know, like this could have been ruined by so many other actors.
Yeah, she has so much dynamism in this role.
All right, your next nominee, it's Jodie Foster, brought to you by Greg.
Yeah, it's such an interesting performance because Starling is, like her name suggests, sort of like a young, naive bird. But she's got like, I don't know if you'd say it's got like an old soul or something. She's like got this understanding of the world. And so even though she doesn't really know the ins and outs of things, she's still like pushing herself forward and seeing that push and pull of like, this young woman who is not worldly but is pursuing like the worst that the world has to offer at the same time. That's a lot to do, and it's exactly in Jodie Foster's wheelhouse.
And I'll say, like, as much as we talked about the directing on this movie, and as much as we love Jonathan Demme, the late Jonathan Demme, doing that scene where all of the dudes are looking at her and then she has to get into an elevator, that's ham-fisted. Like, on paper, that's ham-fisted, but it's her face of being like, oh, this is weird, but it's normal. I'm gonna be conflicted. Like, this is awkward. I don't like it, but I'm gonna pretend to like it. That's all on Jodie Foster doing that.
Her fucking face. One of our hashtags here, Move the Year, is just do two things at once, and often people can do too much, and it's the eye twitching that Ryan often talks about and hates. Jodie Foster's go-to move that I think works every time of I'm scared but I'm determined is that it's that jaw clench.
I'm scared but I'm determined.
She is a specific kind of clenching of the jaw that you're like, oh fuck, I believe everything you're about to say.
All right, the strongest jaw goes to Jodie Foster, but our next nominee, it's Linda Hamilton, brought to you by Greg.
Greg, do this for reals.
A lot of strength here. This is not an easy part to play because in the original Terminator, she was just sort of like any woman, waitress. She was kind of like the stakes a little bit, you know. In the second movie, she's like, she wanted to be broken and put back together and to be too harsh and to be not a mother and to be too hard. And she's all of those things. And you see her at once as like a victim, but also as strong. You see her as someone who kind of ruins all of their plans. And yet someone who is like dependable at the same time.
She's like that. She's like the Jubilee of the X-Men. Like, every time we have like well-made plans, I'm gonna be the one that's like, I'm an idiot, and then fuck them up.
And I know this probably shouldn't count too much, but she's a twin. And anytime you need to do cool shots where you have two of your main character, boom, Linda Hamilton's twin, Slimda Hamilton, is right there. I know how twins work.
All right. What?
Are those all our nominees?
No, we have two more, Greg.
I love it.
Okay, our next nominee, it's Angelica Houston. Nominated by Mike.
I
Yes.
was going to say, I'm going to talk about this one.
Yes.
When it comes to Addams Family, Mike steps up to the plate. Phenomenal actress gets Morticia Addams. I think throughout all last episode, often just talked about how fucking great she is. And if Raul Julia is nominated for Best Actor, Angelica Houston should be. They are hand in hand. I cannot imagine either without the other ones. To be so unmoving physically, but conveying so much with the eyes and the neck bracelets, she won't be able to move. Oh man, she's fucking awesome and so terribly creepily sexy.
I mean, would you guys be that surprised that Addams Family, being clearly the worst movie of this bracket, won Best Actor and Best Actress?
No,
Like that honestly would not surprise me.
Yeah, because they made such a big impression on us in a movie that we were like, it's pretty cool. Like the two of them
In
really
a movie that won
deliver.
Best Sex.
Best sex for the characters just talking to each other.
yeah, but it's that these two fucking thespians didn't go, okay, we're gonna do this like Barry Seinfeld. Who gives a shit about this Charles Addams space comic
Oh, they
movie?
gave
They're
it
like,
their
no,
all.
we're gonna act our balls off this whole
And
time.
that's why Gary Busey should have won for Point Break. Because that guy gave it his all the entire time.
That is
he
true.
only wanted one meatball sandwich. He forced himself to eat two.
Because that's acting.
All right, and our last nominee, we're going to force this one down too. It's Susan Sarandon.
Caitlin, how old are you?
Susan Sarandon, the dinosaur.
The star of
Susan
Dead Man Walking.
Sarandon.
Oh, yes. That one. Mike.
Fucking Christ. Watch a movie. Go watch Stepmom.
Well, they don't, to be fair to Caitlin, they don't mention Susan Sarandon's name in Thelma and Louise.
That's true.
They don't teach
and they
you how to
should. Yeah,
pronounce
that's the
it.
biggest flaw with the movie is that they don't say the actress's
read
name.
the
Aren't you
credits out
Susan
loud.
Sarandon? No,
I mean,
a person in this world.
the
And
inverse
also,
arc of
to be
Gina
fair
Davis
to Mike,
is.
Susan Sarandon, which sounds like a hot dinosaur. That's probably
Yeah.
right up Mike's alley.
That's the hot lady gremlin version of a dinosaur, and I'm getting it tattooed on my chest soon. She does the toughest nails. Then you realize it's all an act, and she's tough when she's at her diner and her world is very small, and she pretends to be worldly, and then you cut into that vulnerability, and like Sarandon really like onions up, man. It's just layer by layer. You get to know Louise more and more and more.
And the thing that I love about her is that she's not a teacher. Like if you called her that would be insane. Like she would slap you in the face, but she's always teaching in order to protect people. Like she will pull Gina Davis to the side and be like, don't ever say that again. Don't talk about that, whatever, because I don't want what happened to me to happen to you. That is
Right.
how she always is. But we never get the full explanation. We only get what Sarandon gives us.
All right, remind us of our nominees again, Caitlin.
All right, our nominees for Best Actress are Anna Klumsky, Gina Davis, Jodie Foster, Linda Hamilton, Angelica Houston, and Susan Sarandon.
Is this the best group that we've ever had for Moody?
It's a killer fucking
It's
group.
Very,
tough one.
very strong. Here we go. Our last award of the night. Best Actress.
So
Who will
exciting.
it be?
Who will it be now?
I'll vote for the dinosaur.
It is Jodie Foster.
Woo!
We went chalk. We did Oscars. We did Hopkins and Foster.
Foskins.
But you know what? She deserved it. That it's a major role. She played it
Yeah.
perfectly. It's not easy to do. It was like an unusual space to occupy in the story. She did a perfect job. Caitlin, thank you for reading all those nominees. Congratulations to all the winners, even the shitheads out there. When we come back, we pick 1991's Movie of the Year.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com. And it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie, everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action, and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property, and Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show, that's Movie of the Year, and that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review. Bye!
All right, so here we are at the end of everything. Number 1 seed, The Silence of the Lambs, versus number 10 seed, Barton Fink. By the time we finish this conversation, we will have 1991's Movie of the Year. Now, Mike, if we did it simply by name recognition, Silence of the Lambs would run away with this one, correct?
Simpsons never chanted Silence of the Lambs because that's harder to chant, Greg, so I don't know if that's accurate.
What about Science of Lamb?
Science
of Lamb. Lamb science. I think most people, because they don't go back and rewatch, would be like, Silence of the Lambs, I mean, it won the Oscar, so it's probably not good, and it's a horror movie, so no? And they're fucking fools.
I mean, isn't
As
that the
we've
double
said.
whammy of terribleness? Horror
Yes.
movie, Oscar winner, fuck you forever. I will never watch you.
What garbage. And it's not garbage at all. You're garbage.
I mean, it has our
Straw man we've created.
best actor, best actress, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Big Five, as they're known. It won the Big Five of picture, actor, actress, screenplay, director. That's pretty good. Only 3 movies have ever done that.
But more importantly, it won our Moody's for those, didn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's got to mean something. It's
Didn't win best sex because that cum thrown at her face just couldn't quite get
Didn't
it there
even
for the
Man,
award.
nominated.
I could not move that down to the bottom of the ballot fast enough.
Yeah, Greg, this is why it sucks to have you on the show. That was the best sex of the year.
Both movies are really off-putting. Both
Yes.
movies managed
Like a good movie should
to be funny and entertaining. In a way, is this the perfect matchup at the end, do you think?
I think so because I think that they're 2 of the most iconic. If they're not iconic enough, they should be more. Although I don't know.
2 of the
if
most
that's up to
iconic posters.
But what I'm thinking about right now is what is the most accessible and how much does that matter?
Yeah, I mean, to me, most accessible would be Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
But not to be this guy, but like that isn't necessarily a vote in favor of Silence of the Lambs, because I think when a movie gives you a little less, you lean in a little bit more, and that leaning in makes you feel a little bit more part of it. And I think that might be an advantage Barton Fink has, right? Like, is there anything when you get to the end of Silence of the Lambs, is there anything where you're like, I got to chew on that a little bit. I got to really like.
Yeah, for sure. I totally think so. I think that like the queer lens and the female lead there's so much to deal with there. In 91, if we were talking about this in 91, and then now, like the troubling things that this movie does about sexuality, and then also that like are sort of like weird, but we don't want to talk about them because they're old, but also the sort of progressive things at the same time. Like Silence of the Lambs is like, I don't know. I think it's sort of it.
Yeah, I think it seems very surface level, one and done, because you're like, well, I understood the story, which means I understood the movie. Versus Barton Fink, you're like, what happened? I guess I got to think about it. But you can peel Silence of the Lambs apart still. And like Ryan said, it's just what literary lens do you want to throw on there?
And Mike,
And a lot of our movies could not. You couldn't be like, hey, Addams Family, we're going to throw queer theory on you right now.
and then Hammer would be like, all right, I'll write a rap about
You
it.
could
right now.
100% do.
I chose the
theory.
wrong
yeah.
one. You probably could do queer theory on Addams Family.
I'm sure this movie's been really important to queer people. But neither one of these is something you'd want to sit down and pop on just as pure entertainment.
Disagree.
Would you say Silence of the Lambs counts?
Both
as-
of them, I think, are spectacular throw on and watch.
even Barton
in-
Fink, really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. And
It's
I
so
think I've mentioned
funny,
this.
and it's so John Goodman-y. Like
I agree with
John
those things,
Goodman
yeah.
won Best Supporting Actor. John Turturro, I bet, almost won Best Actor. Like watching those two together, it's almost like the invention of podcasting.
I think there's a way.
One guy wants to talk but can't.
I think there's a quality of off-puttingness that Barton Fink is going for, and it achieves, and that it might actually effectively be off-putting for folks?
I think it's kind of delightful, even though it shouldn't be, because they're like drinking liquor that they shouldn't be drinking, and then looking at like nudie pictures that they shouldn't be looking at. But then also the wallpaper starts coming off because the building is alive.
That's the part that's awful.
Yeah,
to
I
me,
think that like
that's awful and disgusting. But and then it's not just those two, right? It's John Mahoney and Tony Shalhoub, like people coming in here and just be like, I'm gonna do big Hollywood caricatures,
Right.
but it works.
And then the I thought he was going to be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I can't remember his name, but the head of the studio who then decides to like join the war effort at the end.
Yeah. He has his own like general's attire made up by the prop
Strange.
department.
And so it gets you to the point where like I don't know who's going to appear in the next scene, man. I don't know when fire's going to happen. Like what the fuck is this movie in all of the best ways?
Well, I think it's time to do it. Ryan, you've said extremely positive things about both these movies, leading me not to know what you're going to say here. But what is, to you, 1991 movie of the year? Is it Silence of the Lambs or Barton Fink?
It's Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs with one vote. Mike.
Earlier, Ryan described Barton Fink as a poem, which I think is pretty apt. And if Barton Fink is a poem, Silence of the Lambs is like a really gripping novel. And so it's not just which literary one, but I think poems can either be indecipherable, so you're like, fuck this, or like, I don't understand it, so I'm going to say it's amazing and flawless. I think this novel is tighter than this poem. It's Silence of the Lambs for me.
Oh, there you go. Your 1991 movie, your number one seed, featuring your Moody-winning Best Actor and Best Actress. Silence of the Lambs is your 1991 movie of the year.
Wait,
Dorks.
Greg, would you have picked Barton Fink?
I had not decided yet. I was going to see if it came to me. These were my like they were two of my top 3 movies overall. I think I was probably going to say Silence of the Lambs because it's called movie of the year, not just because it's like the best movie that came out that year, but because it symbolizes that year, because it's timeless while still being 91, right? It has all those things. I think there are a lot of ways in which it is the superior choice to Barton Fink. I just found Barton Fink on a lot of levels more exciting, but that doesn't mean that, it is the movie of the year. Silence of the Lambs is almost perfect. I keep thinking as we were talking about it, how when the movie starts off, you're like, well, this serial killer's in prison and this other one is out free. And when the movie's over, that the serial killer that was out free is dead and the one who's in prison has escaped. And that is such a good move that the movie makes and is very exciting and emblematic of how it makes all the right choices. And that's the kind of thing that made it 1991's movie of the year. So now that the dust has settled, gentlemen, do we feel like we did it? I feel like there is a click here. I feel like
is this the first time that we've been in lockstep with the Oscars?
Yes. And part of me feels like punk rock and shitty about that, but it's they got it right once in 1991.
If I said to you, I know this isn't what it is, but if I said to you, which is the better movie? Ryan.
The one that won, Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. Okay, that's fair.
I think there are more cracks in.
Yeah, I think
Barton
the wallpaper peels off a little bit more in Barton Fink.
It's a little gooey.
In the Ryan list of greatest movies of all time, I do think that Silence of the Lambs would be higher.
Yeah, I kind of think that if we had gone the other way and we had said Barton Fink, I don't think it would have felt good.
Right.
I think it would have felt like
it would have been like Mike is talking about punk rock.
We
against
tried
the
to do the
Oscars.
punk rock thing, and we tried to thumb our nose at the establishment, and so ultimately we made the wrong choice because we're not smart enough to just make our own choice.
But fuck it, dude. Let's give Anthony, Jody, and the film best of the year.
And if I said to you, let's watch Silence of the Lambs right now,
I'm so down.
Nobody disagrees.
Now we all
right?
chant,
yeah,
Science Lambs.
Science
Lambs.
Caitlin, have you ever seen it before?
No.
You should watch it. It's full of stuff you'd love.
Well, I guess we're turning it on right after this. So.
Well, there you go. That is 1991's movie of the year. Caitlin, thank you for coming in and helping us out.
I do want to ask Caitlin a question real quick.
Okay.
Caitlin, have you ever seen Blade Runner?
Yes.
Have you ever seen John Carpenter's The Thing?
No.
Have you ever seen E.T.?
Yes.
Have you ever seen Poltergeist?
No.
Have you ever seen Tootsie?
No.
Dustin Hoffman, dressed as a woman?
No.
No, never. Have you ever seen Rambo: First Blood?
No, but I've been in the room while someone was watching it.
Have you ever seen The King of Comedy?
No.
Have you ever seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Nope.
Greg, we have to do something about this.
All right. Caitlin, would you like to join us on our 1982 season of movie of the year.
10 years before I was born? Sounds like
Not cool. Not cool. Not cool.
Oh man, I hope Fast Times doesn't make. Caitlin shouldn't have to see Fast Times. I'm honestly
That'll
not
be
worried
her
about.
first sex scene.
I'm not worried about Poltergeist. It's such a distasteful movie. I'm worried about its distaste.
There's a guy named Ratface who just acts like a rat-faced person the entire time.
There is a guy who gets a pizza delivered to his class, and if one of my students did that, I would be like, "This is pretty cool, actually."
Smoke me
Oh,
out,
I got
bro.
screamed at for doing that.
Well, that's what you have coming to you, fans, for our 1982 season, which is the next one we're going to do. It'll be just a little bit, so there's going to be a little time there. You know what you can do with that time? Keep watching them movies.